Good evening and welcome to the August 21st City Council meeting. I call the meeting to order. And would you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It's not nearly as exciting as when we have a pledge leader, but they will be back. Okay, that moves us to consent docket. Councilors, does anyone wish to remove an item or clarify anything, or is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. And with a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. That brings us to the public comment on agenda items, and we do have one speaker. I would like to remind the audience for the rules. Speakers are limited to speaking about the specific item on the agenda, only those who are signed up to speak, and you have 3 minutes. And with that said, would you please come to the podium and state your name and address? Mr. Stephen Taylor.
Good evening. I'm Stephen Taylor, address 3911 North Washington. I'm here on behalf of Stillwater Medical Center to talk about the rezoning that we want to do to put in a parking lot, and just let council answer any questions and let council know that I did meet with a citizen that came at the last meeting and addressed most of their concerns, and specifically things that really didn't have anything to do with the lot. We got through that and then talked about the lot a little bit as well. And so just here to answer questions if you guys have any.
I do have a comment about your effort and commitment to save 5 trees.
That's, yes, we're trying to save as many as we can to put in as much lot as we need, yes. And we'll add more after that.
Okay, that's great. And keep them alive.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the goal.
We've run into that before.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, Mr. Taylor, how many square feet of or acres of surface parking does the hospital have at the 6th Street location?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you how many acres we have. I know we have approximately probably 550 spaces total when you count all visitor, staff, and physician parking. Mm-hmm. This adds 155 to our count, but with the growth that we have encountered over the last several years, more and more people come to us. Our outpatient visits have increased by probably 20%. And then with the changes that we're getting ready to add additional square footage onto our main campus, we really need this lot to shift our employees further away from the front of the building so that we can provide adequate parking for our patients and visitors.
Just out of curiosity, did you consider doing multi-level on your surface?
We have looked at that, and we've looked at that in the past, but when it's 15 to 20 times the cost of flat surface parking, it just doesn't make really financial sense to do that.
It is pricey.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No, I just want to thank you for taking the time to meet with her and
Sure.
address the concerns, and appreciate the time.
My pleasure.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Okay. That brings us to public hearings, and they have all either been dismissed or postponed. Do we need to vote, Mr. Dorman, on the postponements?
C and D, you would need to would need a motion to move items C and D to the September 11th agenda.
Okay, do we have a motion to move items C and D on the public hearings to September 11th?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move items C and D on the public hearings to September 11th. Please vote. And with a vote of 5-0, that is approved and moved to September 11th. That brings us to general orders. Mr. McNichol.
John McClenny will have a report on proposed sale of city-owned property at 2115 East Virginia.
Okay, this is a map of the property that we're requesting that the council declare surplus. It is just about one lot to the east of the intersection of Virginia and Jardo. It's approximately 1 acre. It was purchased in 2011 as part of the four-laning of Jardo Road, the right-of-way for that area. And it was purchased at a cost of $80,000. The reason it was purchased, even though it looks like it's a little ways away, is that the design of Jardo Road was going to flood a house in that location. And it was cheaper to buy the property than to redesign the project so that it wouldn't flood the house. The house has since been removed, so flooding is no longer an issue. The city has no real use for the property, and we have had some interest expressed in purchasing it. So we're recommending that the council declare the property surplus and we put it up for public auction. Any of the funds will go back to the half-cent transportation fund for additional road projects. And there is a resolution on the agenda next to that effect.
Questions?
Does the auction price start at the appraised value?
We'll get it appraised so that we'll know what what the value is before we go to the auction, and we can set that price if we want to at that appraised value. And it'll come back to council so that you can see what the bids were compared to how it appraised and whether or not you want to accept the bids or reject them.
Thank you.
That was my question.
Okay.
Any other questions?
In all honesty, though, it's pretty unlikely it will come back at $30,000 or at $80,000. Because
Well, the attachment in the,
there was a house on it. A portion of it's in the floodway now.
It's not in the floodplain or the floodway. It was just that the project was going to cause flooding to that house.
Okay. But vacant land.
Okay, so we will take action on this when it comes to the resolution. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. McQuinney. Okay, that moves us to the resolutions. Resolution CC 2017-13, a resolution declaring certain real property owned by the City of Stillwater, herein described as surplus, authorizing and directing the city manager to offer said tract for sale at public auction. Is there a motion?
yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
What was the motion?
The motion was to accept the recommendation of the
Just wanted to be sure.
staff.
We have a motion and a second to approve CC 2017-13. Please vote. And with a vote of 5-0, 2017-13 is approved. That moves us to ordinances. On first reading, Mr. Dorman.
Ordinance number 3379, an ordinance closing a 20-foot utility easement on property addressed as 1402 North Hightower Street.
Do we have a motion to advance ordinance 3379 to second reading?
Motion to advance to second reading?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance 3379 to second reading. Please vote. And with a vote of 5-0, ordinance number 3379 is advanced to second reading. That moves us to item B. On first reading, Mr. Dorman.
Ordinance number 3380, an ordinance rezoning a tract of land addressed as 2224 West 6th Avenue from RSS Small Lot Single Family Residential District within the Westwood Conservation Neighborhood Overlay to P Public District.
Is there discussion, or do we have a motion to advance ordinance 3380 to second reading?
Motion to advance to second reading?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance ordinance 3380. Please vote. And with a vote of 5-0, ordinance number 3380 is advanced to second reading. That takes us to item C. Mr. Dorman.
Ordinance number 3381, an ordinance rezoning a tract of land addressed as 1205 South Husband Place from CG Commercial General District to RT Residential Two-Family District.
Is there any discussion, or is there a motion to advance ordinance 3381 to second reading?
Motion to advance 3381 to second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance. Please vote. And with a vote of 5-0, ordinance number 3381 is advanced to second reading. That brings us to second readings. Mr. Dorman.
Ordinance number 3372, an ordinance rezoning tracts of land addressed as 1411 West 7th Avenue, 1404 to 1424 West 8th Avenue, 712 to 720 South Stanley Street, and 707 to 715 South Gray Street from O Office and RSS Residential Small Lot Single Family B Public District.
Do we have a motion to adopt ordinance number 3372?
Motion to adopt. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 3372. Please vote. And with a vote of 4-1, the motion is adopted. That brings us to reports from officers and boards, and we will begin with item A, City Attorney.
2 items tonight. Request an executive session pursuant to 25 West subsection 307C10 for the purpose of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property, the financing or creation of a proposal to entice a business to locate within the city of Stillwater, because public disclosure of the matter discussed would interfere with the development of products and services and violate the confidentiality of the business. Second, request an executive session pursuant to 25 OS subsection 307B3 for the purpose of confidential communication regarding the purchase or appraisal of real property.
Thank you, Mr. Dorman, and we will move to item B, Mr. McNichol.
Thank you, Mayor. Reminder, we have a celebration coming up this Wednesday. Starts at 10 o'clock at Stillwater Regional Airport. We will be celebrating the first year of service of American Airlines flight service. We have, I'm going to jump off this release, and Megan may shoot me, but we've actually transported more than 50,000 passengers on those flights to Dallas. Some of those were non-revenue passengers, so really the revenue passengers were around 48,000. But in a year, and that has just been phenomenal. It has far exceeded what was originally expected. So we're going to celebrate that come this Wednesday at 10 o'clock. So come join us and have some brunch with us when the celebration starts in earnest.
Okay. Anything else?
No other items, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are very proud of the airport's accomplishments and how it exceeded all of our goals. So,
Well, I guess I would add the end of the summer flight schedule is also on the 23rd. So those flights will resume with the very popular just before 7 a.m. flight.
Yeah.
But the best part is the 10-minute ride home.
It's the best
From the
part.
airport.
Yeah.
By far.
It's
well,
all
you
about
must
getting
live
far.
way far because 10 minutes. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's a long drive in Stillwater. It is by far the best part of it. What a joy. All right. Counselors, do you have any news or items you would like to discuss?
Well, I'm certain we want to discuss the upgrades to our utility payment system.
We
Because
do.
yes, The number of options you can choose from to pay your monthly bill have really increased. Added options include paying by text message and paying by email, which comes in the form of a secure PDF. There are actually 9 options for paying your bill, and those options are all outlined on the website, stillwater.org/customer service.
And it is a great customer service, so very
Yes.
pleased that we have that, yes. Good job. Counselor Zanotti.
I've got something about the sales tax update. The city received its portion of sales tax from June 2017 transactions, and the amount is up 1.18% from the same month in 2016. Our sales tax collection year-to-date is 4.37% below 2016 collections and under budget by 5.42%. The cigarette tobacco tax is 1.99% ahead of this time last year and is over budget by 7.79%. But I do have to tell you that although we curse going to Walmart, this last week, I went. And I smiled because those baskets were full and people were shopping. So I'm anxious.
And there was no milk, and there was no bread, and
Good, they were in the carts. People were buying them, so.
that's great with us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Welcome back, students. We love having you here. Counselor Joyce.
Yeah, city staff has started to gather community input and education outreach for potential 2018 general obligation bond. The data will be compiled and forwarded to us here on the city council so we can authorize potential bonds. Regardless of what you may have seen to this point, there is no set amount of bonds or set project for the bonds at this point. We're considering the possibility of doing this in 2018, and so we want input on what those projects need to be. These bonds are investments by the citizens of Stillwater into projects in Stillwater, and so we need to know what you want to invest your money in. So please go to stillwater.org/GO-bond. You can find more information on the process. You can take a resident survey and learn more about the projects that we've identified at this point that we think are important, but also provide your input as well. So please do that.
Absolutely important. We need community input. Counselor Whitley.
All right, to end on a fun note, so in anticipation of another fantastic Cowboy football season, we would like to remind all the citizens of Stillwater and patrons about free parking and shuttle services in downtown Stillwater. So the Traffic Control Division has coordinated with OSU to help reduce travel times. So I know that downtown may sound like a little further away from the stadium than some would like to park, but this actually can cut down on times walking to the stadium or getting to the game on time. The plan includes changes to signal timing and or turn restrictions at key intersections along 6th and Main. So again, it's not as far away as it may sound.
Plus, you are not stuck in traffic getting
Very
out of
true.
the parking lots because you have shuttle downtown.
Yes,
Where
and
you-
they
where
drop
you
you
can
off
shop
really
and
close
eat.
to the
You can
stadium.
shop and eat too there, but it is, the downtown shuttle is one of the best additions that they put there.
Yep.
It's great.
And it's going to be a busy season.
Yes, it
That place
is.
is going to be packed, so.
Every single
Take
game.
advantage.
Every single
Right.
game. Go Pokes. Anything else? And it probably takes you less time than driving from the airport to home.
Way less than
So apparently I don't speed.
Okay, that brings us to appointments. And this is regarding appointment of Block 34 Citizen Task Force. I am going to make the appointments tonight, and council will vote. And my appointments are Ariel Ross, Jim Beckstrom, Kevin Fowler, Victoria Berry, Russ Tubner. Ariel Ross was a downtown resident. Jim Beckstrom has large business background. Kevin Fowler has lived in the city of Stillwater his entire life and is a business leader. Victoria represents the Stillwater culture through OSU Art Museum. And Russ Tubner is a downtown business owner and has startup business experience. Discussion.
I like it.
This was hard to do because there are so many talented people nominated. And what I really would like to see is that, I know everybody was very thoughtful in their deliberations on who they nominated, and I would like this task force to have its own advisory group that they can appoint, and I think it should start with all of the people that were maybe nominated if they would like to serve, and anybody else who has a desire, a vision, a talent, a specific background that maybe will add, and the willingness to offer advice to maybe join. But I know that's getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but I was very impressed by the list. It was a very, very tough whittling down to 5 people. So,
It's okay.
Vice Mayor Darlington.
Whomever. I do appreciate, as the mayor has mentioned, the generosity of all the citizens who volunteered to serve on this committee, and ditto the mayor, that I hope everyone continues to be involved. And I recognize the great difficulty and the great amount of thought and effort you put into choosing this team. I do have a problem. I think there is a clear conflict of interest and among the members of this committee. So,
Counselors, anybody else?
I think I like the fact that it's not a huge group. I think one of the things that we had a lot of people that would certainly do a great job with input, but sometimes the larger the group, the harder it is to come together with a concise and clear vision that can then be brought out to a larger group. So I appreciate that the background of each of the members of this committee each bring a different lens into what could happen, and I think that's just as important. So I'm excited.
Counselor Joyce, did you have something? You pulled your microphone over, so I'm just wondering if...
I don't have anything particular, I guess. It seems like a good group to me. I think that there's a lot of diversity in terms of backgrounds and roles in Stillwater. There are certainly some connections there, I suppose, that these people are active in town, and so there's certainly they share some backgrounds, but it's also very diverse in the terms of Ariel's on the Planning Commission. That's great. We've got she lives downtown. We've got Victoria Berry, who runs the Art Museum right there by Block 34. So love to see that, and so yeah, seems like a good group to me.
Thank you. Counselor Wedley.
I have nothing to add. I agree. I think it seems like a good group to me. I don't see any glaring problems with this. Although before we vote, because this is an important vote, is this something we should discuss further? I mean, as far as conflicts of interest go?
I don't want to hold up the formation of the task force. I just do want to mention that that's a concern of mine.
And I appreciate that concern. I do. I may know what you're talking about, and I respectfully
Well, I think
disagree.
I think we have to ask what is the clear conflict of interest that you see?
I see a clear conflict of interest with the great deal of property and that Mr. Tubner owns around the Block 34 and his interest in directing us over the last several years in how we should do this. There's also a conflict between two persons who work for Stillwater National Bank. And
That's not actually a conflict anymore because of the sale and a different company. I have vetted that, and that is not a conflict.
great, okay. Well, and I do think Mr. Tubner's presentation of the plan, if his presence on the committee should be balanced with other people who have presented development issues, interests.
So just to be fair, he was nominated 3 times, and
I understand that, and I respect Mr. Tubner's integrity, and I'm sure that he will take this very seriously and move this project forward.
anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I think I certainly understand why you would consider it to be a problem. I think it's a benefit as well as, any other issue there in terms of having folks on a committee like this who have, who have land downtown and who are interested in driving traffic downtown and who are interested in seeing something happen on Block 34. I don't see anything in terms of personal interest that I think would be a problem from that standpoint. So I mean, I guess I understand why you bring that up, but I wouldn't personally consider it a conflict.
I'm going to, same here. I think the personalities and the dynamics of each person on this committee has confidence and will speak out. And I know that Mr. Tubner is very excited about what's happening downtown, and I think will continue that drive, and have not been concerned that it will be a conflict of interest, but I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad you mentioned it. I think it's good.
It's always better to discuss first.
Absolutely.
And that's why I asked, because I can definitely see that viewpoint. I tend to look at it from the other side as well. It's kind of a virtue, a vested interest to make sure that this goes well. But that's why I asked. I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page before we just go into this decision. So I appreciate it.
Okay, so is there a motion? Oh,
I
go
will,
ahead.
I will say, I will vote no, but I am very positive about the task force as a whole, and I'm glad that they will get going.
Okay, yes, I'm glad that we're at this point in time and we get to move forward again if we vote to do so. Is there a motion?
Actually, your nomination is the motion. so you
Oh,
just need
that's
a
right.
second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. And with a vote of 4-1, the task force, the Block 34 Citizen Task Force is formed. Congratulations to all of those and to the people who were not nominated tonight. I certainly hope that you help the task force. Okay, with that, do we have a motion and a second to move into executive session?
Motion to move into executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, please vote. With a vote of 5-0, we are now moving into executive session. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight.